What is the most Karen thing a Karen has ever done to you personally? Part 2. Story 1. I worked at a store where our $6.50 soaps were on sale 75% off. Karen was buying two of them. One rang up $1.63, the other $1.62. I gave her total and she questioned why one was more expensive. I explained that it was because the original price did not divide evenly, and went so far as to show her on a calculator that 650 by 4 was 1.625, but no. Karen then raised hell at me, yelling that she was being ripped off, and what a dumb company, and she would be speaking with customer service about me stealing her money. But what would happen if she paid for each soap in individual transactions? One was $1.62, so she had me ring them up separately, over a penny. Story 2. When I worked at a bakery, we had a small tip jar at the front counter that we would often write funny sayings on. It usually got a laugh from customers and encouraged them to tip. We always had a fun time thinking of what to write on it. I was about to leave for college and my coworker decided to write, "Please help feed the hungry college girl. She can't live off of ramen forever." I thought it was funny, and so did most of the customers. Enter Karen. She sees the jar and asks who is going to school. I tell her I was, and she scoffs, saying it was offensive to have that kind of hung on the tip jar. She never went to college because she couldn't afford it, and didn't want a reminder of it. She then proceeds to ask for my manager and demands we give her the tip money to make up for how much we offended her. Of course, she was asked to leave and she threw a fit, saying we were only doing this because she didn't have a proper education like everyone else did. We really didn't know how to respond to that one. Story 3. This happened near the end of last year. For background info, I'm a very secluded person. I enjoy company, but I like to spend my trips home by myself listening to music. So I put my bag in the seat next to me so I don't feel crammed in. Of course, if the train is too full and people need a seat, I move the bag so they can sit. So anyway, I'm running late because my work couldn't find the key to the changing room and I board a busy second train. A dolled-up middle-aged woman walks towards me, her makeup outlining her wrinkles, so I begin to move my bag to give her the seat. But then she says, "Did you buy an extra ticket for your bag?" Already I'm a tad irritated and make a failed comeback line that goes over her head. I still let her sit, even to be the bigger man. Big mistake. It becomes quickly apparent that she's already had a few drinks, not enough to have slurred words, but enough to make her very loud and very annoying. She spends most of the first few stops commenting on how rude another passenger is for having a window seat next to his seat when there's a man standing next to him, and how he should move over or offer him the seat. Not once does she realize that if the man wanted to sit down, he would have asked the rude man for the seat himself, and seemed rather happy talking to another standing passenger. As more seats became available, one of the passengers she was talking to asked the standing man if he wanted the seat, but he said no, as he was enjoying the company of the guy he was talking to, which shut her up on that topic. She then went on a weird argument with me and the other passengers around her on how it's a waste of time worrying about stuff, like dying and who your kids go to when you die. She talks about how she's going to a nightclub, and then it becomes apparent that she's on the train for the whole trip, same as me. I don't think there's even a nightclub in my town. Cut to the last few stops, it's just me and her sitting next to each other. She could have moved, but she didn't. She tried to bin my bottle of Pepsi, but I refused as I wanted to recycle it. She then said, "You could thank me for the offer," which I did, rather half-heartedly. So at this point, I went to get away from this woman. So as the last stop approached, I got up to get to the door. Excuse me, what? Excuse me, can I get past?" What's the magic word? I was confused. I was raised to believe that excuse me was polite enough, but I added please. She let me out and I tried to leave. "You could thank me." I was having none of it. She then ranted on how rude I was, and how your parents must be very proud of you. I sarcastically commented on how nice she was, but she didn't seem to think it was sarcastic, saying that she was nice and I was horrible. As I waited on the doors, she dragged a poor bystander into this, saying how far a thank you goes. When the doors finally opened, I explained to her that I'd only thank those who deserve it, and left as the Dropkick Murphys blasted in my earphones. I felt like a badass. This feeling was ruined when I realized I left my iPod charger on the train. Story 4. Used to be a lifeguard in my pool used to host a big regional swim meet. The swim meet overlapped with our recreational swim, and we used a hand stamp system to figure out who had paid for rec swim, and who had entered for free as part of the swim meet. The hand stamps washed off easily, So when that happened, we just send the kids back to our cashier to get a new one. I'm stationed at our water slide, and Karen shows up with a little girl in a suit and cap from one of the attending swim teams. I ask the little girl if she has a hand stamp, and she doesn't even have a trace of a shade of one. I apologize and tell her that I can't let her down the slide without a hand stamp, but that they can go get one from our cashier. Karen flips out and starts yelling at me about how they got one, but it washed off. I told Karen that it's not a problem and our cashier won't charge them again. Karen's husband Kyle shows up and they start yelling at me, demand to see the manager, and after getting my name, they burst into the office, start screaming and swearing at everybody, and then storm off with that poor goddamn little girl. Another time, Karen left us a scathing letter about how we wouldn't let her into our front office to plug her hairdryer into one of their outlets. Apparently, there were no outlets in the women's locker room, which were near a mirror. Life ain't easy when you're Karen, I guess. Story 5. Worked in a small clothing store. This was in the mid-90s, when people still write checks, and the owner made a huge point of telling us to never accept a post-dated check from a customer. If you accepted a post-dated check and it bounced, the bank wouldn't cover it. She made it clear we'd hear about it if she found any post-dated checks in the till in the evenings, etc. We had to initial all checks we accepted so she'd know who took them. So, on my next shift, a perfectly reasonable-looking woman came in with her teenage daughter. Daughter picked out some clothes, and her mom was writing a check. I noticed she put the next day's date by mistake. No big deal, I'm sure it was innocent. I said as nicely as I could, "Oh, it's actually the 8th, not the 9th. So, "Oh, well, if you could put the correct date, I'd appreciate it." She got super testy right away and started arguing with me. Why should I change it? Well, we can't accept any post-dated checks, and I explained why, emphasizing I knew she just made an honest mistake, but this was the store's policy, and that I'd get in trouble with my manager because I had to approve the check personally. Jesus, she went off. Well, you need to start thinking for yourself. Make your own decisions. I am, ma'am. I'm asking you to correct the date. Her daughter was mortified. I'm going to talk to your manager. She's not here now, but she'll be happy to explain the policy to you. I'm going to call her tomorrow. And she left the store yelling at me the whole way out the door, and I yelled back, "She'll be happy to tell you the same thing I just did." It was the most totally unnecessary, unreasonable response. I never forgot it because it was so petty and dumb. Story 6. I work at a Sonic drive-in. One night before a soccer game, a woman rolled into one of the stalls and ordered a 12-count of boneless buffalo wings. These take around 7 to 8 minutes to make, so we warned her. But she wanted them anyway. When she got them, she complained about the wait. 5 minutes later, she called back, claiming we gave her the wrong food because the wings were way too spicy, and demanded we bring her an order of barbecue wings. We got tired of arguing in a car hop, went to get her order from her. That's when we noticed she ate 9 of them, yet demanded a free order of barbecue wings. Crazy Karen. Story 7. I was working at a place that is kind of like the Subway, but with pizza. Anyway, a family of 4 came in. Husband, wife, 2 kids. The wife is immediately mean-spirited and insulting. I put the company recommended amount of sausage, about half a handful, on her pizza, instead of saying, "Oh, can I please get some more sausage?" Like a normal adult, she says, "What, are you dumb? That's barely anything." Put more. I knew it with as genuine a smile I can and pretend she didn't just talk to me in that way. She then acts like it be to every single person on the line. The manager saw her the entire time and overheard what she said. Her husband and kids don't say anything, probably scared to say anything to her. She gets to the register and then complains about me and the other 2 people on the line. Manager defends us and asks her to leave the store and not come back. That, of course, wasn't the end of it. She calls the corporate to complain about being banned from the store. The district and regional managers are sent in. The situation is explained. They say we're all clear. That lady was insane. I felt most bad for her kids. Do they think that's normal behavior? Also, the husband didn't say a word or make eye contact with us, but I got the vibe from him that he was embarrassed. Poor guy. Story 8. My friends and I decided to go hiking. My mom wanted me to bring our, at the time, 12-year-old indoor dog-shy Shih Tzu with us. I obliged her, a big mistake on my part for not enough for sight. We walked halfway up when I noticed my dog was getting exhausted, so I decided to double back so I can take her to chill back in the car. After taking multiple water breaks and having to separate my dog from some of the other overly curious dogs, I decided to carry her the rest of the way down. Cue Karen's entrance as she sees me with my dog. She rips into me, telling me that I'm killing my dog for carrying her. I knew my best to quickly walk past her, bowing politely while she continues to scream at me, and in my ear when I passed her. At the moment, I could not give less of a crap what she was saying, cause my priority was my dog. I retold this story to my friends I had to ditch. They would have torn back at her, cause they know how long I've cared for my dog. Story 9. I was a manager at a retail store. One of our customers, Karen, was pissed because we do not sell plus-size items. I offered her several solutions. We carry plus-size online and told her about the items. That wasn't good for her because she's in the store, not online. I offered to give her corporate number and informed her about the survey we have on the receipt. She stated they don't do anything. I then told her how we used to carry plus-size years ago, but it did not sell, so they took it out of stores. Karen proceeded to yell at me about why the plus-size items did not sell in store and about how only real women wear plus sizes. I may have rolled my eyes at some point, which only set her off more. She told me how she was going to have my job, blah blah blah. What Karen did not realize was I was already looking for a new one. Story 10. Honestly, after 14 years of retail, I can't settle on just one, but the most memorable were the lady who smacked me with a rolled-up tourist map of the area on Black Friday, because I pretended to ignore her standing in the middle of the store, snapping to get my attention. The girl who bought a dress and came back with it a year later, not wanting to return it, but wanting us to get it professionally dry cleaned for her for free just because she bought it at our store. Like lady, we're a tiny local boutique, and it's a $60 dress that we don't even carry anymore. Would you do this at an H&M? The woman who tried to return a $50 fox leather purse with no receipt after 3 years because after heavy usage, the lining on the inside was starting to come undone. That in itself wasn't super abnormal, but she threw a huge hissy fit in the store even after we tried to work with her and spent over a year harassing us and our customers on Facebook about it, to the point where we'd block an account and she'd make a new account just to continue talking dump all over our page. Story 11. Preparing to return a rental car at Gatwick Airport. It's the type you have to queue to check in, and there's no drop-off. I've been standing in the exact same spot for about half an hour. A lady came in, said out loud, "I'm not standing in line," and then sat on a couch off to the side. Fine. My turn was up next, and the lady said, "Excuse me, I was ahead of you. I came in first." I told her she didn't, and I'd literally been standing in the same spot for 45 minutes, including half an hour before she came in. I suspect that because I'm sort of brown, half Filipino, she thought my English would be subpar, because she seemed surprised when I started speaking in my fluent American English. She said that I wasn't there when she came in, so I told the people in front of me, who I made polite conversation with when I first arrived, "I'm sorry, but I got a funny question. I was here right after you, wasn't I?" They confirmed it. She sat down with a harumph, saying, "I don't think that's very funny." Then she got up 5 minutes later and literally tried to skip over the entire line to get her car, but the man at the desk wasn't having it, saying, "Let me help this gentleman first," while pointing at me. Story 12. Another retail story here. Karen was being rung up for her clothes and handed me a $100 gift card. She was on the phone and unresponsive as I was trying to tell her there was only $3 left on the card. I told her a second time, and Karen angrily takes the card back and continues talking as she hands me her credit card. After getting off the phone, Karen forgets where she put her gift card and accused me of stealing her $100 gift card very publicly and asked for my manager to fire me. I told my manager the gift card was probably in her purse because I handed it back to her. She found it in her purse and stormed off. The last thing she said to me was, "You should have told me it was in my purse." Story 13. I worked with one while I did retail. My coworker was an older woman, 76 years old, and a walker. She had to have a stool to sit in to do her job. She couldn't use her walker because of its wheels being unstable on the floors. Another coworker, the Karen of mine, was a land whale with a stool as well. One day, for no reason, the Karen asks if the older woman has permission through Segways to use her stool. She says she did the work, but never heard back. She's had it for 2.5 years and been fine. So Karen decides to go to management, and they throw the older woman's stool away while she is working. Karen gloats and states she went through Segways and knows she did it herself. I asked to see her paperwork then, and she says no, management has it. I asked management, and they didn't. Older woman coworker ends up calling out and starts being unable to finish her job, because she literally does not have the body to do so standing all day. So on my last day, I took the land whale stool home with me, made a fake doctor's note from a template for the older woman that requires proper seating to ensure efficiency and utility for workplace responsibility. I was told land whale Karen whined and moaned all day, has yet to get a stool, and uses the plastic trash can somehow as a stool. Story 14. I used to work at a beauty store that gave free gifts if you purchased certain products. Karen is the first customer in the store one morning, and at my register. She was buying some nail polish that came with some cheap-looking cheetah print scarf as a gift. I was not aware we had gotten it in yet because it wasn't with the rest of the free gifts near the registers. When I told her this, she snapped at me. Well, there better be one in the back or we're going to have a real problem. I paged the manager in the back and asked if we had any. Karen's just got a nasty look on her face as if this scarf was life or death. Thankfully, we did have them. They just weren't brought up front yet because, it had only been open for 5 minutes. Karen didn't say anything else to me after that. Story 15. When I was at work, this older couple wanted me to carry a box all the way to the front for them just because they didn't want to put it in their cart because it wouldn't fit. When I was trying to tell them that all they had to do was slide it underneath, they all of a sudden didn't want it. So, trying to be nice, I told them that I would take it to the front for them, went up near the front later on, and they didn't even pick up their item. Story 16. My neighbor, whose name was literally Karen, came over to my house to tell me that my kids can't swim in her pool because she doesn't want to be liable for them if they drown and I sue her. I asked her if my kids, who don't even want to swim in her pool, went swimming in her pool. She said no, but just in case they were thinking about it. Note, her yard was fully fenced and so was mine. I didn't even know she had a pool until she brought it up. Crazy Karen. Story 17. This Karen was my boss. Asked me to go to an off-site continuing ed class, 100% free, the following day. Time comes and there's a massive blizzard warning. My boss tells me I don't have to go if I'm nervous, and I decide, yeah. I'm gonna bow out because I don't want to drive across town in a blizzard. She forgets, and when her boss is there for an unrelated meeting, asks me when I'm going to be going. I remind her that I'm not because of the storm. After her boss leaves, she screams at me and writes me up for embarrassing her in front of her boss. Then an hour later, pulls me back in her office to tearfully say, I love you, right? Are we okay? So glad I don't work in small offices anymore. Story 18. I'm a trainer at my current job right now. It's a pretty stressful job as it is, but there is one woman in my class that is just making the experience miserable. We have to give our learners our boss's number, mostly so they can report harassment or things like that. This woman has seemed to have made it her mission to get in contact with my boss every day and report every perceived infraction she seems to think I've committed. Story 19. When I worked in a retail outlet store, I was asked to size order the shoes when Karen used me as her personal shop assistant grabbing shoes throughout the back in multiple sizes. She got mad that we didn't sell half sizes, so she threw the shoes at me and stormed out of the shop. Story 20. I deliver appliances for Best Buy. We had a woman call and complain that her fridge was not pre-cooled before it was delivered, and that she had to wait for it to come down to temp. No one in the office was prepared for that one. That's a wrap for this video. Make sure to leave your relatable story down in the comments. I would love to make a video on them. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.